good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending which part of the world you live in. Today I want to talk about, my name is Dr. Aya Carey. I'm a certified leadership coach credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. I'm an organizational leadership consultant and emotional resilience coach and mentor. Today I want to talk about creating a holding environment or cultivating a developmental environment. Container is another word for it. And I see a lot of people talking about personal development, about growth, about developing themselves. And it's an interesting topic. It's a hot topic. And that drew my attention to this idea of creating or cultivating a developmental container. And I think the best example of that is a caterpillar. So it is basically a transformational sort of butterfly. And interesting that a couple of months ago, the place, and when you go outside in the park, it's full of caterpillars and they look so cute and fluffy. And I had a conversation the other day with the lady in the grocery store at the checkout, and I was talking about how fluffy and cute they look. And she's like, "You want to be careful, you don't want to touch." And I was like, "Why?" And she said that they can cause a rash, itchiness, and pain. And I was like, so ironic that such beautiful creatures can cause pain and swelling. So I kind of looked it up, and then I found out that it's a defense armor. So they have these hairs on them that make them look cute and fluffy, and it's a defense armor. At the bottom of the hairs, they have these glands that produce venom. So if someone comes to touch them, then they get this rash, and it causes swelling and pain. I mean, the severity of the reaction depends on the person's immune system, I guess. However, it's their way of saying, "Stay away from me. I'm undergoing a transformation." And I'm not saying, I mean, the fact that they're so cute and fluffy, sometimes you want to touch them. Sometimes children want to play with them when they see them in the park. And it's like, no, I don't want to be messed around with. And I'm not saying that us humans are cute and fluffy, although some of us are cute, I guess. We are undergoing transformation. If we're serious about our transformation, then we want to create that developmental container. We want to cultivate that developmental container that allows us to grow. So that would be talking about people environment, being around the right people, and staying away from the negative influence of some people. Also talk about a physical environment in terms of the surroundings, the neighborhood, sometimes even. We're talking about even in terms of food environment, like changing the diet can really help people grow, because when you feel well, you're more in your zone, as opposed to eating things that make you feel um, lazy or tired or suck your energy. We're also talking about mental environment in the sense of you don't want to be feeding your like mental junk. So in terms of what what shows you listen to, watch, what books you read, and it's all part of developing that or creating that developmental container or environment. And it's really interesting because I was reading the other day the verse about Mary, Mother of Jesus, peace be upon her, and it talks about how she screened herself when she was in seclusion. And that was very interesting for me because it was like, okay, she screened herself. She has a lovely family, but it was her way of saying, okay, I need my space. I'm preparing myself for something bigger, for greater responsibility, for more impact in the world. So basically focus on developing myself. And I think all of us need to learn to do that. Like we learn from the stories that we read in the scripture, but we also from the environment, from the world around, from nature, like caterpillars. They're the best example of creating that developmental environment. Apparently, their venom becomes more potent as they get bigger, and then it's most potent right before they pupate. So it's their way of protecting themselves as they're undergoing that transformation. And if you think that, okay, I want to improve myself, but you don't want to worry about spend time thinking about how to create that developmental environment, then you're kind of, that's like self-sabotage. You're not really helping yourself, because if you're serious, then you're like, what does it, there are prerequisites, right? For transformation, there are prerequisites for growth. What do I need? What kind of environment I need? What kind of food should I be eating? What kind of mental junk should I be avoiding? And it's really interesting that when we do transform, as we transform, because we do evolve, so it's a process. It's not like you get to transform 1 minute. You wake up one morning and you're transformed. I mean, it does feel like that sometimes when you have this big insight or a big transformation, but it is a process. So we grow and we evolve through life, and we outgrow people, we outgrow environments, we outgrow books, we outgrow neighborhoods, we outgrow objects, things, sometimes even certain foods. And an interesting thing about a client I had, and when we first met him, he was in and out of psychiatric hospital, spending 14 hours a day on video games. And we had 2 sessions together. It was in a group session, and then he kind of had a break for a while, and he came back, and he was a transformed person. He had taken up a full-time job, had a new relationship partner and spouse in his life, started going to a Bible group, also join other groups that are more interesting and like in terms of different. So he was like, okay, I want to do this, but I want to learn about different things too that are different from my environment I'm living in. Not to say that studying scripture is not. So it was his way of creating diversity in his life. So to the point that, that break he had, he just wanted to have that clarity to figure out what was right for him. To maybe even sometimes a lot of the time we're guided by wisdom, by divine wisdom. So just having that space to slow down and listen how you're being guided, looking within, because the answers lie within. And part of it is that cultivating that holding environment of having that space to slow down, to listen, see how you're being guided, to get the clarity that you need to move forward, instead of just jumping ahead of yourself and doing things that are not right for you, because we want to be in alignment. And the key is when you're in alignment is when you're like in a state of flow. If it feels like you're climbing up a hill, pushing a boulder uphill, then that you're not in alignment. And it takes that time to slow down and realize, what am I doing here? Is this right? Do I want to change course? Do I need to realign myself with my purpose? So that was. And yeah, another thing that the client mentioned was something about outgrowing. Yeah, because it was part of his transformation. What he was reaching out to old friends, and one of the old friends did not want to reach back, and he was feeling really disappointed. So I did mention that as we transform, that we outgrow people, and he mentioned this metaphor, which I thought was amazing. That as we grow, we outgrow our baby teeth. So I'm like, yeah, that's really interesting. So if we can outgrow parts of our body like our baby teeth, then we can outgrow anything or anybody. And that goes to show you that sometimes, you just have to leave. Certain people are going to be left behind. Certain things are going to be left behind. Foods, environments, neighborhoods, whatever it may be for you. It's just about finding that holding environment to find out what's right for you. And then, everything just falls into place. Lovely talking to you today. I'd love to hear your feedback and takeaways. If you're on YouTube, please like and share. And again, this is Dr. Aya Carey. You can download my free goal setting workbook and guidebook on my website, www.drayacarey.com. You can also buy my new release. It was a #1 new release in the category of leadership. It's on Amazon, and it's Lead from Your Soul, the 4 world views of inspiring leaders. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.